The Ducati xDiavel. They're putting more sport into their sport cruiser. They've had great success with the Diavel, and they wanted to make this edition even sportier. So how does it fare out in the open roads? I took it out for a tour from San Francisco to Death Valley and back, and had a great time. So let's go through it. The MSRP is $20,500 US, and if you want the S model, it's going to be around $24,200. And that gets you a bike that's 45 pounds wet weight. And how it manages its weight is excellent. This does not feel like your typical motorcycle that's 545 pounds. Now the xDiavel also gets the benefit of their 1,262cc engine, which brings out 156 horsepower and about 95 pounds of torque. That's plenty of power for touring around on your cruiser, and you'll have power everywhere. The DVT of the engine just makes sure that everything is nice and smooth. Not inline 4 engine smooth, but smoother than the previous generations of engines. The fuel tank is 4.75 gallons, which is enough for touring. You'll get 130, maybe 150 miles out of it, which is good enough for most gas stops in the US, or even Canada for that matter. The single side swing arm is also beautiful, as it always is with Ducatis. This time around it has a belt drive, and after riding it for about 1,000 miles, I cannot tell the difference between a chain drive and a belt drive. So that means less chain maintenance for you. The suspension is fully adjustable, so your rear shock has got its adjustments there for your preload, and even up on the front forks there, you're going to have both adjustments for the forks, which given that this is a stiffer ride, you may want to adjust it, as you should with any bike that has adjustable suspension. Get it adjusted. The dash of the xDiavel is pretty small at about 3.5 inches, but it's a very high quality screen. So they went quite a bit smaller with the numbers. So if you need reading glasses to read, this is going to be a little difficult for you to read while you're riding. I wish screens like this, if they want to go small, make the lettering substantially larger. Just really kind of fit it in there, or have some customization. Because the tiny letters, you'll have to look at it just a little bit longer when you're riding, which I would rather just have to glance down, quick check, and keep on riding. So very good screen, lots of options on it. You'll be able to check your fuel consumption, your distance to empty, how long you've been riding for, your heated grips. And so everything's standard there. And when you change the modes, the layout of the dash changes just a little bit, just to reflect what mode you're in. But if you're ever in the sun and riding this, and there's direct sunlight on the screen, it does become quite a bit difficult to read, which when you're riding, then it's really difficult. If you have the sun actually shining on it, forget about it. So the screen is not very visible in the sun. There are other screens out there that do a better job. Your kill switch, I really love how Ducati does this, so you don't accidentally leave it on. The lock there is for the steering wheel lock, so it's all automatic as long as you keep the bars turned to the left. Over to the left side here, you've got lots of work for your thumb to do. So this is your menu option selector. It is a little difficult on figuring out, so definitely read your manual, because the way this operates is different from the Multistrada, the Super Sport. Ducati does not like having consistency with how the controls work here over to your dash here. The cruise control is nice. It's something that I'm not used to on motorcycles, but when I use it, it's kind of nice to have to give your hand a bit of a break as well. So good little option to have, but I'm sure we don't see it too much on lower end bikes, as that's a bit of a safety thing. But your standard signals and horn are there as well, and the high beam hazards are right up there. So this bike is equipped with cornering ABS, which is a great feature. I really hope to see that come out in more and more motorcycles, as I think that'll be a game changer for safety and us riding around. It's got the traction control and then the ABS for straight lines and its cornering. It has launch control as well, so if you really want those quick getaways for whatever you're doing, you've got that as well. The heated grips come standard, which is great for those chillier mornings or when the fog comes in. So that makes riding this around for touring very comfortable. Now the seat you may want to get changed. They have lots of options, so definitely go for something that's quite a bit softer and not so shaped. Right now there is the sport seat is on it, which does keep you pretty doesn't allow you to move around a lot, where you want something that you can kind of move around for those long days in the saddle. But very, very comfortable bike to ride all day long. I have no problem with it, and the seating position is kind of strange for how sporty it can be, because you can really throw this in the corners, and this bike does not feel like a 545-pound bike. Right now I'm riding my Super Sport S, and I love how that feels, and this bike is very, very similar. Where it feels different is obviously the seating position and the handlebars. The handlebars are quite far out, so you kind of feel like you're riding like an old-time bicycle, but it just works. So I had no issues with it, other than feeling a little strange in this riding position, and where my hands were, being able to ride some quarters in a very spirited pace. So Ducati has really outdone themselves with the performance of this. I can't see myself riding it, but if you didn't tell me what I was riding, I would imagine it would not look like this bike. Now, the xDiavel does not come with a windscreen, so you may have been wondering why this is there, but that's because of touring. You need it for big touring rides to protect yourself from the wind. If you're okay getting beaten up by the wind and feeling like you just were a punchy bag at the end of the day, then you don't need it, but it sure is nice and helps with the overall fatigue of a big, long ride. One thing I love looking at is the engineering that goes into motorcycles, and there is just so little clearance between the license plate bracket and the rim and then the swing arm. Like, there's not much at all, and nothing rubs up against each other. I mean, you think with such a low clearance it would, but it just doesn't, and that's just beautiful engineering of this motorcycle and all of Ducatis. As far as luggage goes, you have a couple of options. You've got the tail bag, which is great just for riding around daily. Attaches right to the seat. It's hard to get off, so it's good for your quick little trips for the day. You've also got saddle bags from Hepcore and Becker, which I haven't heard from before, but after using these bags, they were actually pretty decent. They are a little bit small, so let's open them up here. So you'll have enough room for like a 14-inch laptop and your stuff. It's kind of neat. They have this kind of dry bag material, so it stays stays dry. And there's your standard zipper. The high-vis yellow on the outside, which actually kind of looks decent. So when I sit on it, I fit pretty good. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. And so riding around, I'm very upright. Everything is comfortable. I don't feel cramped at all riding this motorcycle after spending long days in it. No problem. I definitely want the windscreen for sure, as I'm going to get beaten up by the wind. But if you're concerned about height, you can be a lot shorter and still ride this, as I'm easily flat-footing it. So probably if you were 5'6", somewhere around there, you might have some difficulty. But given that the seat height's around 29 inches, and depending on the seat you get, maybe a little bit lower or higher. But all-day riding comfort, no problem. The only thing I find a little bit interesting is, as I mentioned, is the handlebars. They're just really far out. And it'd be nice if they're just a little bit in closer, maybe a little bit lower. But that's just personal preference. I'm sure most people find just fine. But all-day riding comfort, no problem. So if you're the sport rider, you're getting into cruisers, or you want to get a little more sporty with your cruiser, this is the bike to have for day trips or long trips. Or heck, you can even manage a track day on it. It's pretty sporty, and it doesn't look like it at all. So you can even consider this a sleeper bike with how great it is with performance. So hop on it and give it a try. It's definitely a bike you will not regret because you can ride it slow and comfortable or fast and spirited.